Hi, I'm Stephanie Standifer. I'm the Vice President of the Planning and Environmental Services Department here at WEBB Associates. Our team is comprised of environmental analysts, environmental scientists, people that went to college roughly realmed around the environmental sciences discipline. We mainly do California Environmental Quality Act compliance, which we lovingly call CEQA. And CEQA in and of itself is a state law, and it is multidisciplined. When you do a CEQA document, you have to address everything from aesthetics all the way down to utilities and everything in between. And so we've structured a team here at WEBB in our Planning and Environmental Services Department that mirrors what CEQA requires us to analyze. So for instance, Eliza Laws is one of our senior analysts, and she specializes in air quality, greenhouse gas, energy analyses. She also happens to be a Caltrans compliance expert related to the environmental issues with Caltrans. Eliza has trained Noemi Avila and Monica Tobias. We have Cheryl Degano, who's one of our principal analysts. Cheryl has gads of experience in CEQA. She's also kind of a noise expert, also can talk a good air quality game, is great at traffic. Melissa Perez is what we call our environmental planner. So Melissa tends to be the expert in entitlements related to the environmental issues, helping large land development projects get planned, and then doing also the CEQA compliance for those and focusing on the land use issues and some of the less physical impacts of the project. Autumn DeWoody and now our new member Melinda Weinrich both make up our water planning, resources planning. We're also augmented by Lee Reeder to round out and develop new water resources planning work. There are lots of environmental laws in California, and a lot of them that focus on water resources, and a lot of new things that are happening that we're working and going to team with our engineering teams to branch out into other areas. That's kind of like the technical experience that our group has, but for the most part, at our heart is CEQA. So Jackie Gamboa, who's one of our newest analysts that we hired during COVID, she's being trained to be a CEQA analyst, to be the person that writes the CEQA documents primarily. But essentially, we are the environmental impact analysis powerhouse, if you will, for the company. Again, very multidisciplinary, so we are experts in a lot of different areas. And that's kind of what we do on a daily basis. When should you start asking questions about environmental issues with the project? The answer is at the very beginning. At the very beginning, when somebody has a piece of land that they know they want to do something with, that's when we should be engaged. At that level, what we're doing is what we call like an environmental constraints analysis to figure out, do you have a species on your property that can't be mitigated for, or is the only place that this plant or let's say fairy shrimp live? That will affect your site plan. We want to help them figure out what do they have to start with and what are the environmental constraints that are going to shape how their project comes to fruition. And then we will do technical studies based on the physical layout of the site and then based on what the land uses are. We compile all those reports and then we put that into what is a CEQA document, because whenever the city or the county or whatever entity it is approving the project, the moment that they approve the project, there has to be a CEQA document that goes with that. And with CEQA, there's all these public review periods. We have to wait and let the public chime in and respond to that. So CEQA isn't something that just happens, it's actually a process. The heart actually of CEQA is public disclosure. That was the intent when this law was passed in 1970. It was to say to the citizens of California that when something is built or approved to be built in your community, the impacts of that need to be fully disclosed and the public is allowed to have an interaction with that agency before the project gets approved. Community involvement and community voice should be the utmost of concern. And our job actually as the CEQA practitioners is to help the project petitioner or the applicant to try to translate and help them understand what it is that the community people are maybe saying, and we help them determine what they can do to change their project to maybe meet some of the concerns or come to a compromise that will satisfy the community. Because it is, I mean, no matter where we are working on whatever kind of project it is going to affect somebody. So because CEQA is all about communication and disclosure, we have a very open invitation to anybody that has any questions or concerns about anything environmental. Never hesitate to ask one of us, any of us in our department. We are always willing to help educate, to support, to guide, and to provide whatever services that you might need or a client might need, because it is so important to what we do to make sure that people can actually build what they come to WEBB for. The environmental compliance process is a reality, and so we just want to make that as easy and as expeditious as we can within our control.